Good morning everybody, welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews, and today I'm going to carry on with the series of ranking the tracks from the album. So apart from the recommendations or suggestions I'm getting from people, I thought I would try and coincide with some release dates from certain albums, some classic albums. So today is the anniversary of Iron Maiden Killers. Came out on February the 2nd, 1981 in the UK, a bit later in the US. So I'm going to rank the tracks from the UK version, which I had when I was a kid. Let's talk about the album. So the album cover, probably my favourite album cover from Maiden. Definitely Maiden album. More simplistic back then. Not simplistic as in how good the art was, but the sort of scenes that Eddie would be in. Later on, he would be a pharaoh, he would be in space, all sorts of shit. So obviously the second album, after the self-titled debut, brought out on EMI Records, 10 tracks to rank, 38 minutes and 18 seconds long. Couple of interesting facts I was reading about before I started doing this. Apart from Murders in the Rue Morgue and Prodigal Son, all these songs were written prior to the debut album. So interesting that. And that'll probably explain some of the way the record sounded, which I'm going to talk about very soon. Very successful record in the way of sales. Certified gold in France, Germany, Sweden, UK and the US. Platinum in Canada. Produced by Martin Birch. So obviously any Maiden fans out there will know that there was the production on their debut album, although I haven't got anything against the production whatsoever. Steve Harris particularly had a problem with the production. I think he said the bass wasn't ramped up enough. To tell you the truth, I quite like the production, the rawness of the first album. Although it's quite raw, it's still very clear. You can hear every instrument very clearly. I quite like it. But, you know, the production is an improvement in this, and Martin Birch obviously they'd use for years to come. But this is the first album. Adrian Smith was on guitar, his first appearance with the band, and that probably explains some of the way that some of the songs were more, I suppose, had a slight more epic feel, but still had that punky, aggressive sort of side that they had on the first album. So, number 10, the actual intro to the album. I mean, the only reason this is number 10 because it's just a minute and a half long, well, minute and 45 seconds long. It's the intro, Ides of March. So I think it's a great way to kick the album off, by the way. I think it's a perfect intro, but for the pure fact that it's only a minute 45 seconds long and it's not a proper song as such, it's going to be at the number 10 mark. So, like I said, I think it introduces the album perfectly. Pretty cool sounding for an instrumental, and it really showed you what was to come. You know, those epic sort of passages that they would even have more of later on in their career, especially the early stages. It had that real sort of, if you want, even the Number of the Beast and the Peace of Mind sort of sound, probably because there weren't any vocals over it, you know, and it's just an instrumental part, but very epic sort of sounding beginning to the album. Love it. Okay, my number 9. So, Drifter. This is the closer of the album. So basically a sort of rock and roll groove on this song. Basic sort of rock and roll sort of song, not really Maiden-y, what they were to become. I like the change at a minute 30. It's sort of like and there's sort of great lead parts as well, lead guitar parts in this. You know, I'm not keen again when it goes back in. There's about a 2-minute mark. There's a bit of a instrumental part, but not too keen on that. Obviously, it's at my number 9. It's one of the weaker songs for me on this album. Number 8, Purgatory. A lot of people probably like this. It's okay. It's a fast rocker. Has that sort of punky attitude. And like I was saying, you know, they did have that punky sort of attitude. And I know Steve Harris has said that that's why he didn't like the first album so much as well. It weren't just the production. He felt it was too much of a punky sort of sound on the first album. I think that is just as much, in my opinion, on this second album. And that comes with Di'Anno's vocal style as well. By the way, I do like Di'Anno's voice, and I know he really with a lot of Maiden fans, Di'Anno splits the fans. You know, with Dickinson, people say you don't get many liking Blaze Bayley the most, but a lot of people were, you know, headstrong on the first two albums being the best of Maiden's career. Not in my opinion, but you can see why there's such a divide in people's opinions because of the totally different style of vocals. You know, if you like that sort of new wave of British heavy metal punky sort of stuff, the early stuff, you're going to like Di'Anno's voice more than Dickinson's. It's just simple as that. I actually like both. I just prefer Dickinson's, you know. But yeah, getting back to it, Purgatory, really cool bridge in this song, and it really brings like the energy. There's a lot of energy in this song, in this album, just like there was on the debut album, and like they was for a few albums at the beginning. Maiden specifically had a lot of energy, you know, like a hungry band, I suppose, wanting to be successful. So very catchy chorus as well in Purgatory. I do like this song, but obviously something's got to come near the bottom. That's my number 8. My number 7, Another Life. I do like this one, but it's funny, innit? This shows how far, not just musically, but how lyrically the band came very quickly on in their career after this album, how much they improved. I mean, this sort of, if you like, repeats, the lyrics are repeating and repeating on this song, you know, and that's that punky sort of element. That's what punky sort of songs in the early days used to do, very repetitive on their lyrics. But what this lacks in skill, you know, and epicness, it sort of makes up for in its energy. A real energetic song. Another punky section as well at the 2-minute mark. You know, this is a lot of my more punkier sort of songs do come further down the list. My number 6, Innocent Exile. Another good groove, similar to Wrathchild, that sort of groove going on with the bass, lyrically repetitive again. There's a bit that changes at about 1:20 that I absolutely love. Steve Harris's bass in this it's like the main instrument in this song, as it really prevalent, you know. Not, I don't just mean the production ramping the bass up, but the way he's playing, you know, it's so much improvement on the first album, in my opinion. Very cool. Long instrumental part of this song as well, which is really good. Innocent Exile was my number 6. Number 5, Prodigal Son. So in a way, a very different beast, this one. You know, proggy, a cool, deeper cut. I've actually done not a reaction, but a review of this song a long time ago on this channel, if you want to check that out. It's a very cool, mellow, almost dreamy feel. It sort of flows in this cool groove. A very 70s sort of sounding song to me. Brilliant solo at the 3-minute mark. A lot of emotion, bit bluesy. Excellent solo. Number 5 is Prodigal Son. Number 4. Now, I'm not usually an instrumental fan, but I love this song. Genghis Khan is a great song. And it does make it stand out on this album because obviously without the punky sort of attitude vocals from Di'Anno, although like I said I like Di'Anno's voice, it made this song stand out because it had a real epic sound to it. It's also a more epic sounding song. It's not that 3-minute punky sort of song. It is meant to be a sort of an epic-y sounding song, but of course where there's no Di'Anno's vocal delivery is not on it, makes it sound even more metal rather than punky. It's got the Maiden gallop in parts of this song as well, which I love. A very cool song. So getting serious now, number 3, Wrathchild. So obviously love this song, absolutely love it. The bass line from the beginning when it kicks in after the Ides of March instrumental is great. Di'Anno almost spitting the lyrics out with aggression. It's become a sort of a staple, not every gig, but it's been played even later in Maiden's career, which is really cool. I think it's really good that some of these songs are, I mean, I'd prefer hearing this Wrathchild with Dickinson than I would anything out of the Blaze Bayley period, or even Running Free. You know, I think that's, you know, I know it don't really get played a lot now, but Wrathchild I think is sort of one that keeps its, even though it's so, I've heard it so many times, it keeps its freshness. It's got real freshness about it. So much energy, and that's why I think there's a lot of energy in this song. My favourite part of the song is the breakdown at the 1:30 mark. It's absolutely brilliant. Love Wrathchild. I was toying with it to be a bit higher, but you know, some of the songs that have made it higher are just excellent. My number 2, Murders in the Rue Morgue. So fucking love this song. So this has got elements, you know, of their what's to come again, their epicness, that lovely, cool, quiet part, instrumental part of the beginning before turning into this sort of real rocky metal sort of song. Oh, man, this is starting to show their intelligence of a band, that they're much more, you know, setting themselves apart from all those bands that were about at that time. I'm not saying there were similar sounding bands. There was a lot of cool new wave of British heavy metal bands at that time. But, you know, if you want to get ahead of them, and a lot of them were left behind. Remember, there's a lot that didn't make it. There's a lot that didn't do anything. This is the sort of stuff, Murders in the Rue Morgue, that set Iron Maiden apart from those other bands. Murders in the Rue Morgue, my number 2. Fucking love it. And it only leaves one track to be my number 1, and that's Killers. Title track, very cool beginning to the song. Definitely my favourite on the album, and that section of the song is just outstanding. That beginning before it cuts in with the main song, again showing with what's to come on the next few albums. So kicks in at the 1 minute mark, classic Maiden gallop. You know, that gallop we all know that Maiden only can do the best. So much energy again. Easily my favourite song. In fact, as soon as I started doing, I did listen to the whole album through. I haven't heard it for a long time. But Killers has always been my favourite song on this album. I think because it, like I said, it showed you, and I wish they would play it more as well live when we actually do get up and running live. I know they have played it in recent times, but man, it's the standout cut for me on this album. Killers is my number 1. So like I said, I'm going to start doing, trying to look out for albums that release. It's not the easiest thing to do on certain dates. Wikipedia ain't the best either. So, I mean, even if you guys have got any dates that are coming up, someone did suggest a Pyromania one, and I did that on the date that, the anniversary of that one. And I think that'd be good fun, and it actually sets things out. So if anyone's got any albums coming up, you know, that they know about in recent dates, even ones that I don't know about, and I'll give them a ranking. And also I'm going to go back to obviously the list where people have been suggesting as well. I've got plenty to do. So thanks for listening. I really, like I said, really enjoyed doing these ranking of the album tracks, and I'll carry it on. And if you want to subscribe, please press the red button bottom right hand corner.